Cool. All right, let me see. Where am I at? Welcome. Whoa. What was that?
That was your cue.
That was an aggressive ding. Jeez. All right, collectors. Welcome back to Late to the Party, where a bunch of goofballs talk about old movies. Today's movie is 1985's Better Off Dead. It is a comedy teen movie that runs an hour and 37 minutes. IMDb score of 7.1 out of 10, 77% on Rotten Tomatoes, and here's a new score, a 4.7 out of 5 on Walmart.com. I don't know when Walmart.com became a movie grading service, but this movie's got a 4.7 out of 5. 93% of Google users like this movie. Let's see. Lane Meyer, John Cusack, is a teen with a peculiar family and a bizarre fixation with his girlfriend Beth. When Beth dumps Lane, he decides to kill himself, making bumbling attempts at suicide. Outside of his morbid endeavors, Lane spends time with his oddball buddy, Charles. Remember Booger from Revenge of the Nerds, Curtis Armstrong, and befriends Monique, a visiting French student. Eventually, Lane resolves to race Beth's obnoxious new beau on the ski slopes with unexpected results. August 23rd, 1995, directed by Savage Steve Holland, who also wrote the screenplay, and it was produced by Andrew Meyer, Gil Friesen, and Michael Jaffe. And the cool movie car was a 67 Camaro. All right, this is the quintessential John Cusack 80s movie. There was several in a long lineup. There was this one, One Crazy Summer, The Sheer Thing, the one where he's holding up the boombox, which is, good grief, why can't I remember that one off the top of my head? Say Anything with Lone Sky, yes. So this movie is definitely a classic, at least for me. And apparently the story is John Cusack didn't like the way it came out, and he hates this movie. But I want to ask you guys, well, first of all, Jose, what do you think of this movie? Were you entertained?
Watching it at my age, I actually was entertained. I think if I would have watched it when I was a lot younger, like in my teenage years, I probably would have hated it as well. Mainly because I think I was going through some of the stuff that he went through. It's him growing up, experiencing his first heartbreak, feeling like the end of the world. Apparently 6 months is a long time in teenage years. And I've been there, done that. So looking back at it retrospectively at my own life, I kind of wanted to dislike the movie, but I ended up liking it simply because oh man, it's, it was one of those situations where you're like, man, I remember how dumb I used to be. Thinking that this one chick I met in high school is, oh my God, I'm never going to love again. I'll never have anybody like that and all that crud. And I liked it, it had its moments, and yeah, definitely would recommend it.
For sure. Isaac, same question.
In the very beginning of the movie, I was thinking man, it's gonna be rough. I wasn't enjoying it, but as it kept progressing, I was getting into it a little more. When he was first showing off everything that's going on in his life and how his closet was filled with the hangers with her, I was like, dude, this guy's a freakazoid, man. He's obsessed with this chick. This is not a healthy relationship. This dude's fixated on this chick. Something's gonna go wrong, and then she breaks up with them, and I was like, oh dude, this guy's gonna kill himself. And then he starts talking about killing himself. I'm like, oh man, I'm calling all these right off the bat. And then it started making me remember that episode of South Park that, again, I've never seen this movie, so seeing that episode of South Park, I didn't know what 80s movie they were riffing on, but it now makes sense. It was this movie. It was enjoyable. Some of the flashbacks were funny. It's got a lot of the same 80s people in all those other 80s movies, same characters, just different movie. Was that Porky's from Porky's that was the dude he kept crashing into?
Yeah, I think so. And
yeah.
I never saw those South Park episodes. What were they specifically riffing on?
So it was the whole skiing. So Stan is skiing, and this dude who's a big old douche is like bugging him and wanting to race him, and like is like taunting him throughout the episode as this one chick who's like this weird chick, kind of like the foreign exchange student, is like telling him like, oh, don't listen to him, like we'll beat him on the race. And he's like, what race? I'm not gonna race anybody. But the whole time it was like an 80s movie, and I was like, what 80s movie is this? But all in all, fun movie.
Okay, cool. Curtis Armstrong, aka Booger, aka Charles DeMar. Josh, what do you think of? A lot of people say that Curtis Armstrong stole the show. What are your thoughts on him and his performance in this movie?
I thought it was rather unremarkable, really. I don't hardly recall that he was in the movie except in some very like offhanded, obscure sorts of ways. And I think that kind of is reflective of the way that the rest of the movie was. I think you're onto something with this movie if you found a high rating on Walmart.com. That's probably a good indicator of what's going on.
Yeah, I knew that you were going to take this as your opportunity to punch holes in my comedy because we have different tastes. You know, I like funny movies that go somewhere, and you like Monty Python.
This is going somewhere? Wow. Okay.
Okay. What about one of the things that continues to this day? Like my wife never saw this movie until I showed it to her when we first started dating, and we still say, "Oh, that's nice," whenever something unremarkable happens in our lives, which is what his mom said when he said that Beth had dumped him and she was vacuuming in the living room. And I really think that his mom, Kim Darby, you know, had a bunch of great scenes, like when she was giving away TV dinners for Christmas, and you know the different food things that she was working on, and the writhing tentacles of the octopus, and the raisin thing that jumped out, and the boiled bacon. Were any of you guys? Did you guys catch any of that, or were you entertained at all by that, or did you need it to be like clacking coconuts to have fun with this one?
Oh, I noticed all that, and I was just like, what the hell? That was so like just random. It was everything that was like weird in this movie was just so random to me. It was like, what the hell are they trying to do in this movie is what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah, I noticed all of those things too, but like Isaac, it just seemed like random and out of left field. There were a lot of scenes like that in the movie, and his mom's scenes were just adding to the mix.
Oh, for sure. This movie is it's definitely a hodgepodge, and it's got little bits of this here and there. Okay, for Jose, the paperboy. The paperboy was in several scenes throughout the movie.
Paperboy, yeah, the paperboy.
So, what are your thoughts on the paperboy? He's all the way until the end of the movie. In fact, he's even the last thing you see as the movie closes out.
They really don't have $2?
That's exactly what I was thinking. So to give to this,
He's got enough to fix a '67 Camaro, but he doesn't have $2.
Did you see how much? Do you guys remember what the price of how much he bought the '67 Camaro was?
Like $200 or something.
$200.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if '67's Camaros were $200, then inflation on $2, that's probably like $200. You know, in money.
yeah, and then how much did it cost all those other paper boys to show up to try to get him? Like,
Yeah.
how broke are these kids that they can't pay that kid $2?
How cheap is the dad that he can't pay $2?
And how
Well,
many
he's spending all his paper
garage?
fixing the windows.
Right. You know, that the paperboy was pretty much the only scene in the entire movie that I had a laugh out loud moment when the kid gets hurled off the cliff. I thought that was the most hilarious thing I saw. But the rest of the movie I was like dead quiet, you know what I mean? But that one scene I was like, oh.
And
Now I know where James Cameron got the idea for the T1000 on the hood of the car. Was that before or after? Hold on. Was T2 before or after?
it was after.
After that. After,
It was
Okay.
after.
Okay, so yeah, now I know where he got it from.
The other funny scene that had me laugh was the mom blowing up. The mom blowing up, and then as he's driving that kid to school, he's like, sorry your mom blew up. It's just like, what the hell? Is this movie supposed to be funny? Is it serious?
I actually laughed I'm not gonna lie, I laughed for about 2 minutes on that scene. Like, kept cracking up. So I was like,
It was subtle, right? Because he was dressed exactly like that monk that set himself on fire, and he had his kerosene and everything.
yeah.
And then the lady grabs it and swirls it around and drinks it, and she's like, "Ooh, this is great."
This is good
And then
movie.
she proceeds to light up her cigarette. Oh man.
I like how the mom was trying to. We got French fries, French dressing, and we got Peru for the water.
Can't even say Perrier.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I must comment though. The neighbor kid I didn't realize was Dan Schneider. He's actually the creator of a bunch of shows on Nickelodeon.
yeah, he was also like an overweight kid named Dennis in the TV show Head of the Class back in the 80s on ABC.
Yeah.
Yeah, he Drake and Josh and iCarly and all those shows he was doing. So
And he was also fired for for certain things. So
he never stopped being a pervert.
yeah, so I'm like, he tapped into that inner child in that movie.
he couldn't stop from putting his testicles on people even years later.
I was like, wait a minute, that's not him. Is that really him? And then I realized, oh crap, it is him. So I've seen pictures of that dude before, and he looks just as nasty now as he did then.
He put his testicles all over me. I think he mean tentacles. Oh man.
It was good though. I like the whole paperboy thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is the kind of movie where if you let time go by and then you try to watch it again down the road, like, just like as we're talking about it, you guys are probably more entertained with thinking back about it and talking it with buddies than you were probably when you're watching it. I think this is one of those movies that's kind of like, what was the last one? Remember that one we had reviewed where we watched it kind of stoically? Weekend at Bernie's. Yeah, I think this is probably on a very similar tip, where if you watch it with a bunch of goofballs, then you're going to have more chuckles than you will if you just kind of watch it by yourself. Like
that's probably true. I think that's you're onto something there. The only big difference between this movie and Weekend at Bernie's is Bernie's had like a cohesive plot.
Yeah, this movie, I know you want the movie to not end. I know you like those open-ended flicks.
Hey, look, I can go on forever about like the stuff in this movie that don't make no sense. You know, it just depends on the questions that are getting fired my way. But there's a lot of stuff in here. I was like, what is going on?
So
why was the car in the middle of the baseball field for?
What about the Chinese dudes that are racing him all the time? What do we have here? I was like, dude, what the hell is going on here? And that is another thing that South Park played on years back too, that I was just like, so this is where they got that from, and I've seen that used somewhere else too.
So that's the thing, right? When you think about, and that was the biggest thing that made me think about this movie, was we had watched the Hot Tub Time Machine, which was another movie that John Cusack's in, and in the Hot Tub Time Machine, the kid comes back chasing him for $2. So I was like, man, that's a cultural relevance. You know, something coming back, even if it is a Cusack movie coming back. And then, you know, with Isaac saying about the Family Guy and South Park whatnot coming through, you know, there's been different, especially with these 80s type movies that are Revenge of the Nerds, Porky's. I think this one kind of fits in that vein too, but without having to have the nudity. I think this is more kid rated, and it was just a good time. And I think One Crazy Summer. It's got a Cusack as well as the same director, and the Monique character is replaced by not Drew Barrymore. God, what's her name?
Is it Elizabeth Shue?
No, Bruce Willis's ex-wife, Ashton Kutcher's lady.
Demi Moore.
Demi
Moore. Yeah, Demi Moore is in One Crazy Summer. You get young Demi Moore with braids and a guitar, and it's pretty good. It's got the same kind of goofball laughs, but it's a little bit more refined. This one's kind of like a bunch of skits that they cram into the movie, a la a Monty Python thing. So I was kind of surprised that Josh wasn't more entertained with at least the individual pieces together. But I think that
the problem is the talent with Python is here, and Cusack is somewhere down here.
Yeah, and like we said before, you're always going to hold a vendetta with a movie that actually ends.
No, I love movies that have endings, and Monty Python has an ending too. But this movie, look, when they're doing the claymation burger dance scene to Everybody Wants Some, I was thinking to myself, why can't I be watching Zombieland where they use this song and it was actually like a badass scene, shooting machine guns and stuff, and I have to watch these awkward California raisin wannabe dropout claymation garbage. I'm like, what am I watching right now? It's this. I feel like I have to be smoking weed or dropping acid to make the film make sense.
Tell us about this acid experience that you have.
Watching the movie, that was the acid experience.
The guy who
there's like the animation sequence, and I'm like, what's this all about? Like you already brought up, like the mom and her cooking all this like weird crap, and none of it like makes any sense. His friend, Booger, running around doing like weird things, and none of it has anything to do with the story. It does. None of that stuff drives the story forward in any way.
What about the brother shooting that laser, and he's building a rocket ship and all that weird stuff, and he's having
how to pick up easy women?
Upstairs.
Yeah, then he takes off out of the garage and shoots up to the moon or whatever. And I'm like, what does this have to do with anything?
Most of those scenes were different things that exaggerations, of course, but they're all based on him and things he had happened to him when he was in school. And this was his directorial debut. I think he made like a short film, and Henry Winkler saw his short film and liked it and pulled some strings to get him to be able to make a movie. And he just kind of was struggling to come up with ideas to do it, so he just came up with funny things that happened to him when he was growing up and kind of threw them all in the blender and put them into this movie. So that can explain.
The Fonz is a generous guy, because I would have fired his ass after this one.
There's some stuff, but this movie it wasn't a big hit when it happened, but it ended up getting quite a cult following through VHS video stores and also on
Walmart.com.
Walmart.com.
For sure.
Oh man!
Now the Walmart.com is a few cult classics.
Apparently they do. I actually got this Blu-ray at Walmart, so maybe attribution to the Walmart.com score.
Man.
Okay, so let's compare reoccurring scenes then, Josh, since you and me are having our conversation in a one-on-one basis right now. Do you think that the procurement of $2 from the bike kid is more long-lasting of a comedy routine through a movie than every time they go around on horses clacking coconuts together?
Well, considering that I've seen the coconut meme show up time and again, and I have never seen the $2 meme ever in my entire life, I'd say yes.
The $2 meme? I shared a $2 meme in our timeline.
Yeah, I know, but before this film, I would have had no context for that.
Oh, you mean like I didn't with the coconuts before we saw Monty Python?
Look, Python, I've seen multiple times, and I've seen that reiterated over and over again in different movies and TV shows. I never even knew it existed.
I think if we were to take a vote, you'd probably get more votes for Python. I just found it boring, but
and that's fine. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm okay with you not liking this movie. You said it yourself. All right, so let's Jose, did you hate anything about this movie?
Hate is a very strong word, Neith. But it's like what we've been touching up, upon. There was some elements of the plot that I was kind of like, what the heck, like what's going on here and there. It had its moments. I feel it had, it had enough to keep me interested and keep me going and make me say, hey, you know what? I'll recommend this to somebody to watch it. Just to watch it, to understand. Like Isaac said, if there's been episodes of South Park, I'm sure now that I've seen this, I'll be able to if somebody else does a little riff on it, I'll get it. So I don't know. I don't think there was anything that I hated. I just just little things here and there.
How about you, Isaac?
Just all the randomness was like, all right, it's random, but again, that's what a Family Guy would do, and South Park, they all do random stuff like that. And when they go flashbacks, like how he thinks about when they were first losing their virginity to each other, and they're like, what's that noise? And their tires are being jacked. That's pretty funny. That's like something South Park and Family Guy would do. Or the paperboy falling off the cliff. That was funny. Or, that weirdo neighbor, man. That guy's a freakazoid. Or his many blunders and a suicide. It was just all that craziness. I didn't really dislike anything about the movie. It was fun. It had its moments. It was like an episode of a Family Guy. The animated burgers, that was funny. The animated intro of the movie was pretty funny. It had its moments.
I feel like it was like a really condensed, really fast version of the Wonder Years.
Okay.
Like it was trying to tell the story like in just one quick go. You know what I mean?
And I like that it was short.
It ended quicker.
Yeah, it wasn't too long of a movie, even though you guys talk about parts dragging. Like I don't know. I have fun with this movie. I always think back on this movie fondly, so I thought it would be a good thing to bring up for the show here. I've been waiting for the entire length that we've been doing this show to find it streaming, and I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me try to bust a Scott and get this thing into everybody's hands. So without further ado, I think we stretched the talking along on this movie long enough. We'll roll the buckets, and we'll start off with Josh. What are your thoughts on buckets for this movie?
Well, I want to make it clear that I agree with Jose. Hate is a strong word. If anything, my general attitude toward it was meh. I think if we're going to apply your criterion, I think on most of those criterion, the best you could score would be a 1. So this movie's not going to score too high, and there may be legacy things coming out of it in other media that are out there that I just didn't notice because I have no familiarity with this. I think the only thing that we really got as a legacy from this movie is the doom that was coming with everything that Cusack has been involved in. So I'm going to be generous, and I'm going to give this movie a 4 because they threw that kid off the cliff.
Okay. All right. A 4. I think that's the same score I gave your movie, so that's fair. All right. Let's see, Jose.
I enjoyed it. I'm gonna be really honest. I haven't seen too many of Cusack's movies. I think the movie I've seen prior to this was Martian Child, and that was completely different to what this was. So, yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's way, like Isaac's laughing for a reason. It's completely different. It's like more drama and stuff. But like I said, I enjoyed it. There was it had enough of its moments for me to keep going, and it made the cut where I would recommend it to somebody to check it out. You're right. I think it does have its place in the grand scheme of things, and looking back at my own life, being able to laugh, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's why he hated it, because he was maybe going through something similar. Now that he's an adult, I don't know, maybe he'll go back and say, hey, you know what, it wasn't so bad, I was just being dramatic. There was a lot of, like, the characters were being very dramatic on a lot of points. Like dramatic in the sense is like, okay, calm down, dude. You're too much right now. So I enjoyed that. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10, which is pretty high. But
no, that's a solid score. You know, I forgot to ask you guys about how douchey you thought the guy he was skiing against was, but that'll be something.
They were all a little douchey, and he was a little annoying too. Like, all right, dude, get over it.
I think he did a solid job of playing the. He actually, when they were doing the auditions, they were auditioning him for that part. He came into the room and was douchey to the director, like, and his douchiness to the director was like, "Hey, you're the douche we're looking for," and he ended up getting the part because of that. So,
try that today.
He reminded me a lot of that of the antagonist in The Wedding Singer, that Gulia guy that drove the DeLorean. He had that same kind of vibe, you know, where he's just making like all kinds of like over the top awkward statements. I don't know if you remember Wedding Singer, but he's the guy that was trying to get married to Drew Barrymore's character.
Yeah, Gulia.
Yeah.
That's what we call top grade A sirloin steak right there. And we can't get like that.
Yeah.
You all tried 4 days ago.
all right, Mr. Madrid, how many buckets?
I'm gonna give this one 6 buckets because it's the perfect 80s movie. It's got all the crazy 80s stuff, 80s actors. It's got the 80s antics, and it's more kid friendly than some of the other 80s movies. So I'll give it a 6.
Cool. For me, it's an 8. It's an 8 because I don't think a 5-day span doesn't go by when I'm not quoting my wife some random line from this movie, or when we go eat people's food. You go to sit down with people at their house and eat dinner, and they serve you up something disgusting, and I put some of the food on my plate. I'm like, oh. That's nice. And my wife, we kind of get like a undercover knowing nod chuckle in references to crazy moms and their horrible food. So there's lots of personal reference to it. So it's definitely an iconic movie in the Kochasak household. So anyway, those of you who watched that movie with us, I hope you like it. And if you didn't get a chance, check it out. There's quite a few movies that John Cusack stars in, so you know, he's proven himself despite Josh's thoughts to be a bankable movie star all the way to this day. There's movies he stars in, and there's ones that I would call John Cusack movies. You know, I want to say more modern would be High Fidelity, or check out High Fidelity. It's a solid movie. Gross Point Blank. That's also what's that?
Gross Point Blank.
Gross Point Blank. Those are 2 more modern that I would consider to be Cusack movies, and not just movies that he starred in. So if you get a chance, check him out. Solid actor. Besides that, we're going to be passing the ball to Josh, and we're going to hope that he's got a good, solid pick for us, and we're not doing another grudge match. So
No grudge matches here. But many of you will notice that we're missing 2 of our late to the party members tonight. And so in the interest of the 2 of them, I have 2 categories that one could apply to Liz and one could apply to Lego. And so we can think of them as we're thinking of these categories. So as all of you know, Liz is an avid reader. So I have a category of films called Reading is Fun. And then for Lego, we all love Lego and his very consistent rating system for the buckets. I have another category called Is It a 10? So I'll let you guys choose between Reading is Fun and Is It a 10?
I'm gonna go Reading is Fun.
I'm gonna go Is It a 10?
Yeah, I'm going Is It a 10? It sounds like it just seems like it's going to be a little bit more fun. And besides, usually when books or movies are based on books, the movies are always worse than the books. And want to have some fun.
Okay. So then in the category, Is It a 10? we have the following films. We have 2008's Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh,
We have
opposite. Good
we
switch
have
on it.
we have 2010 we have 2010's The Last Airbender,
Oh God.
and we have 1987's Masters of the Universe.
Oh, that's rough.
I told you reading is fun, you dipshits.
Oh, you're right, Isaac.
And these are not grudge
the
films.
title.
These movies are meant to really test the limits of Lego's ability to give buckets.
I'm gonna give it a 10 regardless. He's hooked on that 10.
Well, this is going to test his integrity. We're going to find out.
I'm gonna say
His
let's go
integrity.
Airbender.
Where are the movies at?
It's the Find It Yourself.
In that case, I'm gonna do Indiana Jones because I know where it's streaming.
Yeah, I take back my vote. I'm going to Indiana Jones, Crystal Skull.
I don't want to pay for Masters of the Universe or The Last Airbender.
I don't know. They might be available.
let's
Let's,
do Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls.
Kingdom
Well,
of the
let's see.
Crystal Skull.
If you can get a stinker, if we can stream a stinker like the worst fucking one, I'll do it. But if I have to pay for it, I don't want to pick it.
Well, yeah, I'm assuming that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is on Disney Plus. Masters of the Universe. Good grief. That's not looking good.
Do you guys have that movie on DVD?
No. We know people who have it, but we don't have it. Man, it's not showing up on much
Masters
of
of
it.
the Universe is on Prime.
Oh, is it? Oh, wonderful.
You want to do that one?
Is it paid
And
for?
It's
The
free.
Last
It's part of your Prime.
Airbender.
I haven't seen Masters of the Universe or Airbender.
Oh,
All right.
then there'll be treats for you.
Yeah. Like throwing up in your mouth's a treat.
Last Airbender's on,
That's an
on
aphrodisiac in some
Netflix.
cultures. What's
Last
that?
Airbenders on Netflix.
Airbender's on Netflix because they have
Okay,
series on there.
all right. I'm switching my vote. Let's do. I want to do Last Airbender. I want to see what made M. Night Shyamalan go into hiding for 10 years.
All right. I'm down with that.
I never watched that one either, so I'm down.
Oh, well, there you go.
Last
A movie
Airbender.
that, a movie that the three of you haven't seen. All right. Well, then we'll be doing 2010's The Last Airbender.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming with us on the ride to 1985. And we're going to be bending air next time or breaking wind, however you look at it. For Late to the Party, I'm Nate the Gray signing off.
I'm Isaac.
Oh, I'm just shocked that now I know when I gave Nate that omelet when he went, oh, that's cool. I know what he meant now. I'm Jose. And
And I'm
disappointed.
Josh.